Emily Thompson gazed out the rain-streaked window of their rented U-Haul as it wound along the narrow highway toward Willow Cove, a sleepy coastal village tucked into Oregon's rugged shoreline. The Pacific Ocean churned gray and restless to their left, while dense evergreens pressed in from the right, their branches heavy with mist. It was late September, and the air already carried the sharp bite of approaching winter. Jordan, her husband of 2 years, gripped the wheel with a mix of excitement and nerves. His dark hair tousled from the long drive from Seattle. "This is it, Em," he said, flashing her a grin. "Our fresh start. No more cramped apartment life, just us, the sea, and whatever adventures this old cottage has in store." Emily smiled back, though a flutter of uncertainty stirred in her chest. Jordan had inherited the place from his great-aunt Edith, a woman he'd barely known who had passed away quietly in a nursing home the previous spring. The cottage was modest, a 2-story affair with weathered clapboard siding and a wraparound porch that overlooked a tangled backyard merging into the woods. According to the lawyer's photos, it sat at the edge of town, isolated but charming, with only a few neighbors scattered along the gravel road. They arrived just as the sun dipped low, casting long shadows through the fog. The cottage smelled of salt air and faint mustiness as they unloaded boxes. Emily claimed the upstairs bedroom, its slanted ceiling and dormer windows offering views of the treetops. Jordan busied himself in the kitchen, unpacking pots and pans while humming an old rock tune. Their dog Baxter, a scruffy terrier mix they'd adopted last year, darted around, sniffing every corner with enthusiastic tail wags. That first evening, they took a walk to stretch their legs, following an overgrown path that skirted the backyard and led into the woods. The ground was soft underfoot, carpeted with fallen needles and leaves turning crimson and gold. Aunt Edith must have loved the privacy here, Emily mused, linking her arm with Jordan's. It's like our own little world. But as they crested a small rise, the trees thinned, revealing a glimpse of something unexpected. An old Victorian manor, its turreted silhouette rising like a forgotten relic against the darkening sky. It was perhaps 100 yards away, separated by a stretch of wild underbrush, but close enough that its upper windows caught the fading light. "Whoa, that's straight out of a Gothic novel," Jordan said, stopping short. "Didn't the lawyer mention anything about neighbors?" Emily shook her head, a chill prickling her skin despite her jacket. The manor looked abandoned at first glance, peeling paint, overgrown vines climbing the walls. But then she noticed a faint glow in one of the tower windows. Maybe it's empty, or some eccentric recluse lives there? They shrugged it off and headed back, but the image lingered in Emily's mind as they prepared dinner. Over pasta and wine, they chatted about plans. Jordan starting his remote tech job, Emily setting up her freelance graphic design studio in the spare room. Baxter curled up by the fireplace, content. That next morning, Mrs. Harland arrived unannounced, a plump woman in her 70s with a basket of homemade muffins and a warm smile. She lived 2 doors down, the closest neighbor on their quiet lane. "Welcome to Willow Cove, dears," she said, her voice carrying a faint lilt from years in the area. "I'm Gladys Harland, been here since the 70s. Your aunt was a quiet sort, kept to herself mostly, but this town's friendly enough if you don't mind the rain." They invited her in for coffee, and she regaled them with local lore, the annual crab festival, the best spots for clamming, and warnings about the tricky tides. When Emily casually mentioned the manor visible from their yard, Mrs. Harland's expression shifted subtly. "Ah, the old Whitaker place. Been in the family for generations, but it's just one gal there now, I think. Lena something or other. Keeps odd hours. Best not to bother her. She's not the social type." Jordan nodded, intrigued. "We saw it from the woods. Looks like it could use some work." Mrs. Harland chuckled. "That's putting it mildly. Rumors fly about that house. Ghost stories from when it was a rest home back in the day. But don't pay them mind. Just enjoy your new home." After she left, Emily and Jordan tackled yard work, raking leaves and trimming back the encroaching brambles. The autumn air was crisp, filled with the scent of damp earth and pine. Baxter romped around, chasing squirrels. But as the afternoon wore on, Emily felt a nagging sensation, like eyes on her back. She glanced up toward the woods and froze. In the manor's tower window, two figures stood motionless, a man and a woman, middle-aged from what she could tell, their outlines stark against the glass. They weren't moving, just watching. "Jordan?" she called softly, not taking her eyes off them. He looked up from his pile of branches, following her gaze. "What the—" He squinted. "Are they staring at us?" The figures didn't wave or acknowledge them. They simply remained, gazes fixed across the distance. A fog began to roll in from the coast, blurring the view, but Emily could still feel the weight of their attention. Heart pounding, she turned away, pretending to focus on her rake. But when she snuck another peek minutes later, they were still there, unmoved. That night, as they lay in bed with the wind howling outside, Emily whispered, "Do you think they're still watching?" Jordan pulled her close. "Probably just curious about the new folks. We'll introduce ourselves tomorrow, if it bothers you." But sleep came fitfully, and in the quiet hours before dawn, Emily thought she heard a faint rustling in the woods, closer than it should be. She sat up, peering into the darkness, but saw nothing. Yet the unease lingered, a shadow creeping into their idyllic new life. What if those watchers weren't just curious? What if they were waiting for something?
The rain started in earnest the next day, a steady drizzle that turned the backyard into a muddy quagmire. Emily stared out the kitchen window while sipping her morning coffee, the manor barely visible through the veil of mist. The figures from yesterday were gone, or at least she couldn't see them. Jordan, ever the optimist, suggested they push through with their outdoor chores. "Can't let a little weather stop us," he said, pulling on his boots. "Besides, it'll give Baxter some exercise." Emily hesitated, but agreed, bundling up in a waterproof jacket. They spent the morning clearing debris from the garden beds, the rhythmic scrape of rakes providing a soothing counterpoint to the patter of rain. Baxter splashed through puddles, his fur matted and joyful, but as Emily knelt to pull weeds, that familiar prickle returned. She looked up, and there they were again, the man and woman in the tower window, standing side by side like sentinels. Their faces were indistinct at this distance, but she could swear their eyes were locked on her. Trying to shake it off, Emily waved tentatively, her hand cutting through the air in a friendly arc. "Hello?" she called, though her voice was swallowed by the wind. No response. The figures didn't budge, didn't wave back. It was as if they were statues, frozen in place. Jordan noticed her stillness and followed her line of sight. "Again?" he muttered, wiping rain from his brow. "This is getting weird. Maybe they're bird watching or something." Emily forced a laugh. "With no binoculars? Yeah, right." But inside, a knot of discomfort tightened. They worked in silence for a while longer, pretending not to notice, but the constant surveillance made every movement feel exposed, vulnerable. Back inside for lunch, they dried off and heated soup. "I found something upstairs," Emily said, pulling out a bundle of yellowed letters from her pocket. She'd discovered them while organizing the attic that morning, a stack tied with faded ribbon, dated from the 1940s. "These were Aunt Edith's, I think, or maybe older. They mention a dispute with the Whitaker family over land boundaries, something about unwelcome eyes in the trees." Jordan skimmed one, his brow furrowing. "Creepy coincidence, but it's ancient history. Let's not read too much into it." After eating, Jordan booted up his laptop for work, diving into code for his software project. Emily settled in her makeshift studio, sketching logos for a client. But her mind wandered. She opened a browser and typed, "Whitaker Manor, Willow Cove History." The results were sparse. a local history blog mentioning it as a former sanatorium for tuberculosis patients in the early 1900s, closed after a scandal involving missing funds. A few forum posts speculated about hauntings, but nothing concrete. One user claimed, "People say shadows move in those windows at night. Avoid if you value your peace." The afternoon brought more rain, but they ventured out again to finish the yard. The watchers were still there, unmoving. Emily's skin crawled. She imagined them discussing her and Jordan, plotting in whispers. To distract herself, she called Theo, the handyman Mrs. Harlan had recommended. He arrived promptly, a burly man in his 40s with a toolbox and a no-nonsense attitude. "What needs fixing?" he asked, surveying the porch. As he hammered loose boards, Emily mentioned the manor casually. Theo paused, his expression turning guarded. "Lena Whitaker's place. She's the last of the line, lives alone from what I hear. Fixed a roof once, paid cash, no chit-chat. Folks say she likes her privacy. Best to respect that around here." Jordan joined them, probing further. "We've seen people in the windows, watching us." Theo laughed dryly. "Could be reflections, or maybe she's got company. But if it bothers you, plant some evergreens along the fence line. Blocks the view come spring." He finished up and left, but his words lingered like the mist. That evening, as dusk fell, strange rustling echoed from the woods, branches snapping, leaves crunching underfoot. Baxter growled low in his throat, hackles raised. Jordan grabbed a flashlight and stepped onto the porch, shining the beam into the trees. Nothing. "Probably deer," he said, though his voice lacked conviction. Emily nodded, but sleep evaded her. Around midnight, the sounds returned, closer this time. She nudged Jordan awake. "Listen." They lay still, hearts racing, as the noises circled the cottage. Then silence. In the morning, Emily stepped outside to find a single muddy footprint on the porch steps, too large for either of them, imprinted with an unfamiliar tread. It pointed toward their door, as if someone had stood there, watching, waiting. Who or what had been out there in the night?
The footprint haunted Emily all day, a stark reminder that their isolation might not be as peaceful as they'd hoped. She scrubbed it away with a brush, but the image stayed etched in her mind. Jordan tried to downplay it. Could be Theo's from yesterday, or even a delivery guy. But his eyes betrayed worry. They decided to install basic security cameras, ordering a set online with overnight shipping. In the meantime, they stuck to indoor tasks, organizing the attic and basement to avoid the backyard's watchful gaze. Baxter's behavior shifted too. The usually playful dog now paced by the back door, whining and scratching as if sensing an intruder. One afternoon, while Jordan was on a conference call, Emily let Baxter out for a quick run. He bolted toward the woods, barking furiously, and disappeared into the underbrush. Panic surged through her. "Baxter, come back!" She grabbed a coat and followed, calling his name. The path was slick with mud, branches snagging her sleeves. Deeper in, the manor's outline loomed larger, its windows dark. Baxter's barks grew distant, then stopped abruptly. Heart pounding, Emily pushed forward until she found him cowering by a fallen log, fur raised, a fresh scratch along his flank. "What happened, boy?" she whispered, scooping him up. As she retreated, she glanced back, and there they were, the two figures in the tower, staring down as if they'd witnessed the whole thing. Back home, she bandaged Baxter's wound, the dog's whimpers tugging at her. Jordan finished his call and examined it. Looks like he tangled with thorns or a raccoon, poor guy. But Emily wasn't convinced. That evening, over takeout pizza from the village's lone diner, she video-called her sister, Mia, back in Seattle. Mia's face filled the screen, concern creasing her features as Emily recounted the watchers and the footprint. "That sounds sketchy, Em. Have you talked to the police?" "Not yet.
It feels silly, like we're overreacting to nosy neighbors. Mia leaned closer. Install those cameras ASAP, and if it gets weirder, I'm coming down there myself. The call lifted Emily's spirits, but as night fell, the wind picked up, carrying faint strains of music from the direction of the manor, ethereal, like an old phonograph playing a waltz. It drifted in and out, haunting and discordant. Jordan heard it too, cracking the window to listen. What is that? Sounds ancient. They closed the curtains tight, but the melody seeped through, unsettling their dreams. The next day, Theo returned to help mount the cameras, his truck rumbling up the drive. As he worked, Emily probed him about the manor's history. Mrs. Harlan mentioned it was a sanatorium. Any truth to the ghost stories? Theo hammered a bracket into place, pausing thoughtfully. Back in the 20s, yeah. Patients came for the sea air, but some never left. Rumors of experiments, folks vanishing. But that's just tall tales. Lena's harmless, far as I know. Though she does play that old music sometimes. Says it calms her nerves. His words added a layer of intrigue, but the cameras brought some relief, their feeds accessible via an app on their phones. That night, a storm rolled in, thunder rumbling over the ocean. Power flickered, then cut out entirely, plunging the cottage into darkness. Emily lit candles, the flames casting eerie shadows on the walls. Baxter growled at the back door. Jordan checked his phone. The cameras were offline without electricity. Great timing, he grumbled. Then a low hum started. The generator they'd set up kicked in partially, restoring minimal lights. But as Emily glanced at the app, it refreshed with cached footage from just before the outage. A shadowy form, humanoid and cloaked in fog, approaching the fence line from the woods. It paused, seeming to look directly at the camera, before melting back into the trees. "Jordan, look at this," Emily whispered, her voice trembling. He stared at the screen, face paling. "That's no animal. Someone was out there." The storm raged on, rain lashing the windows. They huddled together, listening for any sign of approach. Hours passed in tense silence, until a distant crack, like a branch breaking, echoed from the backyard. Jordan grabbed a flashlight, but Emily held him back. "Don't go out there." As the first hints of dawn pierced the clouds, the power returned, but when they reviewed the full footage, the shadowy figure was gone from the recording, as if erased. Had it been a glitch, or something more sinister lurking just beyond their sight?
The erased footage left them rattled, a digital ghost that defied explanation. Emily replayed it obsessively on her phone, zooming in on the blurred shape. "It has to be a person," she insisted over breakfast. Jordan nodded, his usual optimism frayed. "We can't ignore this anymore. Let's go over there, introduce ourselves, ask about the music and the watchers. Maybe it's all a misunderstanding." Emily agreed, reluctantly, though her stomach churned at the thought. They leashed Baxter, who tugged eagerly toward the woods, and set off on the winding path. The air was heavy with post-storm dampness, puddles reflecting the overcast sky. As they neared the manor, details emerged. Cracked stone steps leading to a grand but faded porch, windows shrouded in dusty curtains. The tower loomed above, its window empty for once. Jordan knocked firmly on the heavy oak door. Silence stretched, broken only by distant waves crashing. Then, footsteps approached, and the door creaked open to reveal a young woman in her mid-20s, with sharp features, pale skin, and dark hair pulled into a messy bun. She wore oversized sweaters and jeans, her eyes wary behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Can I help you?" she asked, her tone clipped but polite. "Hi, we're Emily and Jordan from the cottage down the path," Emily said, forcing a smile. I'm Emily. This is my husband. The woman hesitated, then nodded. Lena Whitaker. What brings you here? Jordan glanced at Emily before speaking. We've noticed people in your tower window, a man and woman watching our yard. It's been a bit unsettling. Lena's expression remained neutral. I live alone, no one else here. Must be a trick of the light, reflections or something. Emily pressed gently. We've seen them multiple times, and last night during the storm, our camera caught someone near our fence. Lena crossed her arms. Not me. I don't wander in the woods at night. Maybe kids from town playing pranks. The interior behind her was dim, filled with stacked boxes and antique furniture draped in sheets. A faint, musty scent wafted out, mingled with something metallic. They chatted awkwardly for a few more minutes, Lena mentioning she inherited the place from her grandparents, working as a freelance archivist from home. She deflected questions about family or visitors. I value my solitude, she said pointedly. As they turned to leave, Emily spotted a glint in the hallway, an old phonograph, its needle poised over a record, perhaps the source of the music. Back at the cottage, Emily rummaged in the attic for the letters again, but one was missing, the one detailing the land dispute. Jordan, did you move them? He shook his head, puzzled. Had someone been inside? That afternoon, Theo stopped by to check the cameras. Hearing about their visit, he whistled low. Lena's an odd one. Fixed her plumbing last year, house full of old junk, like a museum. She mentioned relatives once, but clammed up quick. As evening fell, they relaxed with a movie, trying to reclaim normalcy. But around 10 p.m., a rustle at the front door made them jump. Jordan investigated, finding a folded note slipped under the mat. In block letters it read, "Stop looking, it's not your business." Emily's hands shook as she held it. This is from her, or them. They debated calling the police, but decided to wait, not wanting to escalate without proof. Sleep was fitful, Baxter standing guard at the foot of the bed. In the wee hours, scratching echoed from the bedroom window, slow, deliberate, like nails on glass. Jordan crept over, heart thundering, and peeked through a slit in the curtains. There, at the edge of the woods, stood the two figures, closer than ever, their forms silhouetted by moonlight. They weren't in the tower. They were here, on their property, watching with unblinking intensity. The sight of the figures so near shattered any remaining denial. Jordan slammed the curtain shut, whispering urgently, "They're out there, right at the tree line." Emily clutched Baxter, who whimpered softly. They spent the rest of the night in the living room, lights on, doors bolted. Come morning, no trace remained, no footprints, no signs of intrusion, but the note burned in their minds. Over coffee, they confided in Mrs. Harlan, inviting her over. She arrived with fresh scones, her face paling as they showed her the note and described the watchers. "Good heavens," she murmured, adjusting her glasses. "I remember something similar years back. A couple down the road complained of eyes in the night. Turned out to be transients camping in the woods, but the Whitaker place has always been peculiar. Lena's grandma was institutionalized there when it was a sanatorium. Maybe family secrets run deep." Her words fueled their paranoia. "Should we go to the police?" Jordan asked. Mrs. Harlan nodded. "Couldn't hurt. Officer Reyes is a good sort, handles the village calls." They drove into town that afternoon, the coastal road winding past crashing waves. At the small station, Officer Reyes, a stocky man with a mustache, listened patiently but skeptically. "Sounds like harassment, but without clear evidence. I'll drive by the manor, have a word with Lena. In the meantime, keep those cameras rolling." Back home, tension simmered. Emily snapped at Jordan over dinner prep. "We should have stayed in Seattle," revealing cracks in their unity. Jordan hugged her. "We'll get through this, together." The surprise came that evening. A knock revealed Mia, Emily's sister, suitcase in hand. "I couldn't wait. Booked a flight the second you hung up." Mia, vibrant and outspoken, brought energy, hugging them both. "Show me this creepy manor." The next day, while Jordan worked, the sisters explored the woods, Baxter tagging along. Mia chatted animatedly, easing Emily's nerves. But near the manor's boundary, Mia spotted something glinting in the leaves, a discarded wallet, weathered but containing faded photos of strangers. Weird. Lost hiker, maybe? As they pocketed it for the police, rustling surrounded them, branches shaking, footsteps circling. Baxter bolted, and they chased him back to the cottage, breathless. Officer Reyes called later. "Spoke with Lena. She denies everything, says she's alone, no visitors. House looked empty. Keep an eye out." That night, arguments flared again. Jordan wanted to confront Lena. Emily favored waiting. Mia mediated, suggesting they review camera feeds. Nothing unusual, until Baxter vanished. One moment, he was in the yard. The next, gone. They searched frantically, calling his name into the darkening woods. Hours passed, panic mounting. As midnight neared, Emily's phone rang, an unknown number. She answered hesitantly. A whisper slithered through. "Emily, where's your dog?" The line went dead, leaving her blood cold. Who knew her name? And what had they done to Baxter? The chilling call propelled them into action. Jordan slammed the phone down, face flushed with anger. "That's it, we're ending this now." With Mia's encouragement, they enlisted Theo, who arrived at dawn with tools and a determined scowl. "If Lena's hiding something, we'll find out, but we do this smart, no breaking in." Armed with flashlights and the wallet as potential leverage, they trekked to the manor under cover of fog. Officer Reyes had promised to check in later, but they couldn't wait. Peering through ground-floor windows, they glimpsed cluttered rooms, stacks of crates labeled with foreign scripts, antique relics scattered about. "Looks like a smuggling den," Mia whispered. A side door creaked open, unlocked. They slipped inside, the air thick with dust and secrecy. Upstairs, in a hidden alcove, they found mannequins dressed in dated clothes, positioned near windows with small cameras attached. Decoys, Jordan realized. She's been watching us through these. Lena confronted them in the hallway, eyes blazing. "What are you doing here? This is trespassing." Emily held up the note. "Explain this and the calls. Where's our dog?" Lena deflated slightly. I set up the mannequins to scare off intruders. My ex is stalking me, dangerous guy. The music, the shadows, it's all to make the place seem haunted. But the note wasn't me." Doubt lingered. Her story felt rehearsed. As they pressed, a noise from the basement drew them down. There, amid crates of black market artifacts, they found Baxter tied up, whining but alive, a tag around his neck. "Next time, it's you." Chaos erupted. Lena bolted upstairs, but Theo blocked her. "You're smuggling stolen goods," Jordan accused, spotting shipping manifests. Lena confessed tearfully. "Inherited debts forced me into it. The Watchers keep locals away, but someone is using my setup, maybe my ex." A crash outside, footsteps fleeing into the woods, fog swirling. Mia tripped, twisting her ankle, but Jordan pushed on. Then, Emily's scream pierced the mist. From deeper in, where she'd wandered ahead, Jordan raced toward it, heart slamming, only to find the path empty, her footprints ending abruptly. Emily was gone.
vanished into the haze.
Jordan's world narrowed to the search, his shouts echoing unanswered. Theo and Mia caught up, helping comb the woods as dawn broke. Officer Reyes arrived with backups, alerted by a frantic call. "We'll find her," he assured, deploying search teams. The Matter raid uncovered more, hidden compartments with artifacts worth thousands, manifests linking Lena to an underground network. She broke fully under questioning. "My accomplice handled the dirty work. I didn't know about the dog or the abduction." The twist came midday. Mrs. Harlan was arrested at her home, receipts tying her to the smuggling. "Greed got the better of me," she admitted. "Lena's grandma left me out of the will. This was payback. I sent the note, made the call, to scare you off before you dug too deep." But Emily, tracks led to a concealed cellar beneath the manor, where she was found bound but unharmed, guarded by Lena's ex, a burly man hired for protection, who'd gone rogue, kidnapping her as leverage. A tense standoff ended with his arrest, Emily freed amid tears and relief. Back at the cottage, wounds healed slowly. Baxter recovered, Mia stayed to help. Jordan and Emily's bond strengthened through the ordeal, but trust in their haven shattered. They listed the property, planning a return to city life. Yet, as they packed, Jordan glanced upstairs and swore he saw a shadow in their own attic window, watching. Was it paranoia? Or had the fog concealed one last secret?